Welcome back. So this is another video that I'm making now. It's only about the power commander and how to set it up. I mean, I can't show you how it's put into the bike because I'm not going to take my bike apart, but I can explain to you what the power commander does and how it works. So I made a bit of a drawing to show you how the power commander system works on a K1200 and also on a K1300. There's two versions of the Power Commander. There's a Power Commander 3 and the Power Commander 5. On the Power Commander webpage, they don't advertise the Power Commander 5 to be working with the K1200 series, but it is working. I've seen it. Other people have installed it, so you can run a Power Commander 5. I have a Power Commander 3, which lets me use a quick shifter. That's why I went with the Power Commander. I could have gone with the Rexer tuning, Brain tuning, where you send in your BMSK module and they reflash it and send it back to you. The problem with that is if you have a K1200 and you just still don't have a quick shifter, so that's kind of shitty. Plus, if you bring your bike back to BMW and they hook it up to the computer and they upload a new software to the BMSK unit, you lose the tuning and you're back to where you were before. So I went with the Power Commander route. I bought mine used from another K1200s owner. He lives in Adelaide, and he sold his bike, so the BMW dealer took it out for him, and so I got it for $200. I spent another $160 for the quick shifter, and I got that running, so all good. Now I'm going to explain to you how the Power Commander, how it works. So the BMSK is your engine controller. It has an O2 sensor which reads the fuel when it is being burnt by the engine, how much fuel, how much oxygen is left in the exhaust. So if the sensor reads that you have a lot of oxygen left, it will inject more fuel. If it reads that it has not enough, or it has not enough oxygen, it's gonna put in less fuel. Now, if you run the Power Commander, you have to physically disconnect the O2 sensor. The O2 sensor sits when you got to remove the tank. So if you do this installation yourself, it's full on. So if you don't know what you're doing, it's pretty difficult. So the plug to get rid of the O2 sensor sits behind the ABS unit. That's one of the steps you have to do. And then you got to remove the airbox. You can leave, it's kind of a crude drawing, but I guess you get the idea. You leave the rubber boots on your throttle body. Then the injectors, you disconnect the cable that goes to each individual injector. You disconnect the throttle position sensor, which is on the right hand side. It's behind the it's hidden pretty badly behind the frame, so that's a real pain in the ass to get off. So the Power Commander, so once you've disconnected all these plugs, I mean there's plenty to disconnect to even get the airbox off. The idle controller air, there's a temperature sensor in there, so there's plenty of stuff to disconnect, but I'm not going to show you how to do that on a drawing. That would be something for a future video on really how to install it, but this is more of an idea on how the Power Commander is set up and how it works. So you disconnect all the plugs from the throttle position injectors, and then you lay the cable in on the right hand side from the Power Commander, and then you plug the cables that you took off that came from the BMSK, the original cables. They go into the cable that comes from the Power Commander, and then the Power Commander cables plug into the injector and into the throttle position sensor. So you're pretty much splicing it into the system. Now, if you don't want to run a if you're never going to be running this thing on a dyno because you've got a good map from somebody else, this is optional. The SLS hose that goes to your second, it's called the secondary air system. The secondary air system injects fresh air to make the exhausts cleaner, so it burns. It injects fresh air into the exhaust, and it burns the rest of the fuel, or the remaining fuel, and then that's what's. So if you block the SLS system off and just doing that, and then your BMSK, and it reads that there's even too much fuel, it would even lean out the engine more and make it run even more shittier. So if you have a problem with your bike running rough, a good cause could be the SLS system. But so if you want to run Power Commander and you want to get it dyno tuned, at the dyno tuning place they're going to insert the probe in here, and then they're going to read how much oxygen is left in your exhaust. And if you introduce false oxygen through the SLS, your dyno tuning is going to be off. So you got to block this off and make it run without SLS. So you can, there's a valve up at the top, so you put a cap on the bottom of the SLS valve, and you block, if you physically block with a cap, I just shoved a big bolt in here and blocked the fresh air hose. So that's pretty much it on how the system would be set up. If you're not 100% sure if you're getting this, if you can't understand what I'm talking about here, then you shouldn't try this installation. Somebody asked a question already on one of the videos about the BMSK learning. Yes, the BMSK computer is able to learn. If you reset the BMSK, or you have the dealer reset the BMSK, and he does the stepper motor synchronization, your bike to begin with is going to be running like inside here there's a fuel map stored, not an optimum fuel map, but a fuel map created by BMW. Now the more that you ride, if you live on the coast, if you live in the mountains, the more you ride, the BMSK will adapt to your area where you live, temperature, air pressure. It even has an air pressure sensor, which I showed you before in the other video. So the BMSK is a learning computer, and eventually after a couple of miles it will go back to shits. So don't be surprised when you go to your dealer and he resets the BMSK, and then you take off from there and you say, hey, all my problems are fixed, and then after 50-60 kilometers, you're back to what you have before, and then you can ride back to your dealer and say, hey, you didn't fix anything. Now for the rough idle, this is the only fix that you can do, at least by yourself. Get the Power Commander installed, disconnect the O2 sensor, and load the proper map, and then it should be really sweet to run. So I'll boot up my my computer. I'll hook up the Power Commander, and I'll show you how my bike runs with the Power Commander, and you can have a look at my fuel table that I'm using. It's gonna take me a second because I didn't prepare for this. I'll set you aside here for a minute, and let me load this up. So here we go. I've loaded the Power Commander software. Again, it's in German. This is your throttle position in percentage and your RPM. Not even sure, maybe I can change this to English. Yep, I'll set it to English. Let's close it. Let's try this again. Yeah, there we go. So throttle in percent and RPM. Let me turn the bike on, and then so it gives you, once you have everything connected, and it's connected to the that's why it's called a Power Commander 3 USB, because you can plug it in with a USB cable to your computer, and then once it has recognized it, it gives you the serial number of the Power Commander. So I'm gonna get the fuel map that I have stored in the bike. So I'm gonna hit the Get Map button, and here are all my values that I'm running. And so, for example, 20% throttle, and I'm doing here's 7,050 RPM, which is fairly unrealistic. This would be when you close the throttle. It injects 10% more fuel. Now this table was set up by a professional dyno tuning place for a K1300. Although he had I think an Akropovich exhaust, I have the stock standard exhaust. It works brilliantly. I mean, throttle on-off response is absolutely great. Love it. Now, the rough idle, and this is probably what most people are going to be interested in, is the rough idle. The rough idle is because the bike at 0% throttle, running between 1,000 and 1,250, there is no fuel injected by the BMSK. So when the bike runs rough, BMSK not injecting enough fuel. Now, to get rid of that, the Power Commander lets you inject at 0 throttle. I can inject fuel. I guess I lied in the previous video. At 1,000 RPM, which would probably be the minimum threshold for the bike to even run an idle, I'm injecting 15% fuel, and at 1250 I inject 10% fuel, and I just put in 8% fuel at 1500. So just when I rev it and I close the throttle, that the fuel injection isn't cut that aggressively. But when you have a look at this table, like for example, at 5% throttle, and it's at 3,500 RPM, the Power Commander is actually reducing the fuel injection, which is coming from the BMSK. It takes out fuel at 18%. So you can't just go and say, yep, I'm gonna get the Power Commander and I'm just gonna add 5%. I've done that before. Didn't make any difference, except that the bike was running absolutely crazy on the fuel mileage. I just added 5% in each one of these tables, in each one of these values, and the bike just, it didn't behave any differently. It just was running, more fuel, and it smelled like fuel, and but really didn't make it better or anything. So you have to get the right table to make this work. Another neat thing with the Power Commander, so if you're not going to go with the software that I have in the previous video, it shows you if your throttle position sensor is working properly. So it's at 0% at the moment. Now I'm gonna increase it, and the throttle goes up to 100%. Now you can go down slowly, slowly. So if there was a jump in here, let's say I'm at 80, and I keep closing the throttle, and all of a sudden it jumps from 80 to 60 or something, then you know that your throttle position sensor has failed, and that's one of the causes of people's bikes stalling, hesitating. Could be your throttle position sensor just failing, and then you need to get that replaced, or other people have opened them. You can pry it open with a screwdriver and then clean out the inside. I've never had that problem, so I've never tried it, but I guess that's one fix. So let me start the bike, and then I'll show you what the RPMs are. When I said to you that my RPM is really crisp, I'll show you that. And obviously at the beginning it's not going to be running super smooth because the bike isn't warm yet. So it even shows you when it is injecting fuel. So now it's running between 1250 to 1500. So it's always jumping in between these two lines, and it tells you exactly where it is at in the fuel table. So when you look at my now the bike is not hot yet, and I'm in a closed garage. I'm not going to suffocate myself, but you can see that it doesn't jump much. It jumps roughly close to maybe 60-70 RPM. Now here's the fuel change, how much fuel it is adding. So it's adding 6%, and it does it every it does it 4 times a second. Grab this engine a bit. So I'm gonna kill it because I can already smell the fuel, the exhaust gases in the garage. So this is how my my power commander works in my bike. I'm gonna show you the. You can also set the shift kill because I have the shift kill shifter. So shift kill options. Now you can set the minimum RPM when the quick shifter is supposed to kick in. So at 3000, that's pretty much average. I wouldn't go below 3500 because then your clutch basket and your gearbox aren't fully loaded yet, because the bike is starting to get its maximum torque at roughly about 4000 RPM. So if I hit the quick shifter at 3.5, it sometimes it doesn't really work. So if you want to go quick shift, then I would say that you're better off doing it somewhere above 4.5. Once you reach the 7000, 8000 RPM, it gets better. But sometimes the sensor wouldn't sense the input, and I shifted without the ignition being cut. So yeah, I kind of, since I'm not an aggressive rider anyway, and this was still with my old 1200s shift lever. Now that I've got the 1300 shift lever, I would hope that this is better. And then you can also set the kill time, how many milliseconds. Now I've read somewhere on a K1300 bike, the K1300 quick shifter has a kill time of 68 milliseconds. I've set it to 72, which seems to be working for me when it really works. Like I said, sometimes, let's say out of 20 shifts, it does it 18 times that it works, and then there's 2 times when it doesn't work. But I expect that to be gone with the 1300 shift setup. So that's it. Well, going back to the SLS system, if you live in California or in a place that has smog, pollution, environmental, when they check your exhausts, or if you live in Europe and you want to run a power commander, the power commander, because it ejects more fuel, is going to fail your exhaust emissions check. And if you if you get this checked on a regular basis, like if you have your bike, like in Germany, I know it's the TÜV. TÜV is every 2 years, so when you come in for the TÜV inspection, you load a 0 map with 0 extra fuel injection. So save this map and then you inject more fuel, where you inject more fuel, and then you put a 0 map on it with no extra fuel injection, and you hook up your oxygen sensor again, which is a pain in the ass because you have to remove the fairings and the tank to get to it because it sits behind the ABS block. And then you go and get your exhaust emissions check done, and then once you've done that, you can put it back in. I know that especially in Germany, the TÜV is pretty strict on add-ons to your bike. So even if he, he's going to look at the bike, and if he asks you to remove the seat and he sees Power Commander, you've already failed. So make sure that you're able to hide this box. And when you read the installation manual on the DynoJet Power Commander website, they tell you to feed this cable underneath this bridge, and then put the box in here. I wouldn't do that, because if you do have to hide this box and the cables are tucked under here, you won't be able to get this box through the bridge. So run the cables just along the side, and then that's it. What else? Oh yeah, and then when you go to the inspection, this is Europe, and they see this, and they, depending on the guy that does the inspection, and he sees this setup, he knows that there is a quick shift unit, and if he's really smart, he knows that the 1200 doesn't have a quick shifter. So there'd be 2 points that he'd be looking at. Oh, he has a quick shifter. Where's the Power Commander to it? Make sure you remove this and put the original rod back in, and just hide the sensor and hide the Power Commander. Once you're done, go back, go home, disconnect the O2 sensor again, reload the map, install your quick shifter sensor, and then you're good to go again. So this is just a quick run through for Power Commander. Power Commander. Before I start the bike, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can do this with. No, I probably can't, because I need one hand to turn the key and the other one to hold the phone. Let me try this. So before you turn the key, you press. This is only Power Commander 3. Before you turn the key on, you press all 3 buttons. Pretty difficult having the phone in my hand. No, missed it. So if you press all three buttons and turn the key, then you can set the RPM ranges. You've got the low, medium, and high RPM, which in the Power Commander would be low RPM scale, would be from 500 RPM to 3,500. Your medium RPM scale is from 3,500 or 3,750 to 7,550, and then the high RPM scale is 7,500 to open end. So if you start the bike, you hit all the three buttons at the same time. You can change the values in here just by using the button. You can change the fuel, how much fuel is being injected. So this is the low RPM. So I can play with the button and I can either say I want more fuel or less fuel. So my map that I'm using at the medium RPM range, I have the feeling that it's injecting a bit too much fuel, so I set it a bit lower. It reduces fuel by 2%. So each, unfortunately I can't show it to you now. So when this button, when this LED light is in the middle, and you can press these buttons, each time that the LED moves down one, gives you 2% less or 2% more fuel. So I've changed in the medium range. I've set it down. I've taken off 4% in fuel, which also makes it, if you're going to do a long run and you don't really need the power, then just reduce the fuel a bit. Gives you a little bit more out of the tank, and then when you go back to playing MotoGP, then just add more fuel. So that's it. I talked again for another 30 minutes, a lot of garbage, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Gives you a bit of an insight of the Power Commander, how it works, and I'll see you next time.